Okay. So, like I mentioned, we're about to start the penultimate chapter, which is going to be chapter 11. And I was told, hey, try to get like your final theory of what's going on before you get to this chapter. So that's what I did. I thought about it long and hard for a few days. And I think I got essentially like a good idea of what's going on just in this game. So let me get my theory up real quick. And then I'll just read it to you guys. Okay. So this will be, of course, I guess, possible spoilers. If for some reason you haven't followed along, you haven't watched this, or for some reason you're joining in now, I don't know why. I'm spoiling everything basically that I think might have happened. So just, for argument's sake, I'm also going to put up the spoiler button just in case. So as always, I haven't used this thing in a while, but if you for some reason don't want to get spoiled, just mute now for whatever reason. Anyway, one sec. Okay. So, like I mentioned, I went ahead and just thought about this for a good while. Here's my thoughts on what's been going on so far. So, currently there is no curse of Oyashiro-sama. Whoever is killing is a person or an entity. It's someone. It's a human. Someone is doing this. Whether it's one person or a group of people or someone or like different people, we'll find out later. But for sure, there's not a curse. The Sonoseki family is not involved at all. Like they're pointed to a lot, and they take the blame a lot in this series. But they're not really to blame. Some of the members, like I try to think about it, like who the fuck would want to kill Rika, right? And I was like, would it be the Sonoseki family? And it's like, no. We've had one character that has had beef with Rika before in the past, and that's Shion pretending to be Mion. But that's because Rika would come to try to kill Mion, and then she ends up fighting Shion, who happens to be Mion, who is actually Mion. Anyways, the Great Hinamizawa disaster itself is not real. It's not an actual disaster. It is, or well, it's not a natural disaster. It is a cover-up by a faction that we do not know yet. I'll get more into it in a little bit. It could be like the government, or it could be, again, someone that we just don't know the name of yet. We've probably been given a lot of hints of who this group is, who this person is, who these entities are, but we have no idea who it is yet. Now, in chapter 6, we had Rena going on about an alien theory. Now, I'm pretty sure that was all just one giant metaphor. Hey, there's no actual alien, but something else is going on that might be close enough. So something is going on within Hinamizawa, or people from Hinamizawa. But instead of it being something like aliens, maybe it really is just something biologically within them, and some government or shady organization is trying to fuck with that. Let's see. I'll get to that last question once I give my quick final theory. But one sec. Let's see, what else? Right, Keiichi. Keiichi is unaffected by a lot of this stuff because he's an outsider, or maybe because his whole like existence is tied to fate or some other meta shit that we don't know. Maybe for some reason like he just can't die in the Great Hinamizawa disaster, or something else is going on. If it is because it's something related to the biology of people from Hinamizawa, then he definitely can't be killed, because he definitely doesn't have whatever they have that might be, targeted by this group of individuals. The mountain dogs that we covered I believe it was they were mentioned in chapter 1. I can't remember the tip that mentioned it, but they were mentioned in chapter 1, and they were mentioned again in chapter 3 and I believe one more chapter after this. But the the mountain dogs, we know, are some kind of task force. Specifically what they do, we do not know much, other than they're kind of there to either keep the peace or something along those lines. They are here specifically to do something in Hinamizawa. That's one thing that we know for sure. No matter what, they're very involved in Hinamizawa and keeping something possibly secret. Now, I was thinking a lot about who might be, or like who might be the characters that are most involved with the Great Hinamizawa disaster. And when I was thinking about this, I thought about it for a while. I was like, okay, these characters must be hidden in plain sight. They must be characters that show up a lot that you might not doubt, because for whatever reason, something happens. And those characters that I came up with, or after thinking about, thought, okay, it's definitely Tomitake and Takano-san, for sure. Because we're led to believe that they're way more important than they are. Or sorry, we're not led to believe that they're way more important than they are. Basically, they're given screen time, they will show up and do stuff, and then they are killed. So you kind of forget about them. Some of these things, of course, being, like I mentioned in chapter 3, we have that section where Takano tells Keiichi, did you bury the body deep enough? If not, mountain dogs will be able to like sniff out the body and unbury it. And it made Keiichi panic like crazy. So, if you think about it, it could have been that the I keep calling them Diamond Dog. I keep thinking of Metal Gear for some fucking reason. The mountain dogs followed Keiichi as he buried the body. He buried the body in a haze, and then they covered that area up for him. As in, they probably dug up the body and took it somewhere else. As we know, Keiichi in chapter 3 kills Satoko's uncle, goes and buries him. Then on his way back, he's almost like collapsing from exhaustion. Takano finds him and then is like, hey, I'll give you a ride back home. And then that's when she busts out the "did you bury it deep enough" line. And then once she does, she ends up taking Keiichi back. Keiichi passes out, and then like the following day, I believe he goes to check up on the body. Oishi's like, hey, what are you doing here? And then he's like, start digging, bitch. And he gives him a shovel and he starts to fucking dig. So when he ends up digging, there was no body. Like, Oishi harasses the shit out of Keiichi for no reason, but there is no body. Then we've got Tomitake. We're led to believe, again, that Tomitake is just like this photographer. But Tomitake is there to provide funding for whatever Irie is researching. Oh, before I forget, with Takano. Let's see. Just double checking my notes. No, never mind. Okay. But Tomitake, again, he works for an organization that is funding Irie's research, and Irie's research involves studying those from Hinamizawa, as far as we know, maybe. Starting at least with Satoko. He's been studying Satoko a lot. Now, on the surface, he's been quote-unquote helping her out with her illness, but he's probably doing something else beneath the surface. What that is, we don't know. And this is basically what Satoko is being tested for. Like, whatever it is that they're studying, that's more than likely what's going on with this research, right? Now, what that research is, what I'm guessing, is a bioweapon. I'm guessing that they're researching a form of bioweapon, which is then used on Tomitake in every single timeline to kill him. He gets surrounded, he gets injected, and then he claws out his own throat. So he ends up clawing out his own throat as a result of the bioweapons testing, maybe just to be a guinea pig, you know, because he's technically just a cog in the machine. And then that just proves that, hey, the bioweapon works. He claws out his own throat. He dies. Remember, we never see any of the bodies, if I recall. Like, they're all just piled up. But if I recall, Keiichi never mentions if they clawed out their own throats or not. We just know that their bodies are there. I believe he's able to recognize like one of the bodies or two, but I don't think he comments on the throat or anything. So we just know that there's dead bodies, at least at the end of chapter 3. Anyway, the final thing is Iria ends up killing himself after he realizes what the fuck he was researching and what it was for, and just due to the guilt, he's like, I can't fucking do this, and he just ends it. So that's my guess as to like why Iria ends up killing himself. Because remember, we found his body at the end of chapter 3, but his body wasn't killed by the disaster. He committed suicide. So anyway, so my final theory before we get started is this. There's some organization conducting biological testing in the remote mountains of Hinamizawa. They have a task force set up to protect the lab that they're using in order to keep anyone who gets too close to the truth out, while also helping those who partake in the curse to clean up if they fuck up, like Keiichi did, or maybe in the past years. They were probably the ones who helped that one guy who got away get away. Remember, there was 5 killers in the first year. Was it 5? Yes. There was 5 killers and 1 got out. Like, one escaped. Everyone else was caught. And they all had some sort of alibi. Anyway. I'm sorry if I keep, since I just woke up a while ago. I'm coughing every now and again. Either way. Basically, there's if the idea of the curse exists, then no one's gonna focus on the secret shady underground lab that Rena almost discovered by herself, which is fucking crazy. And my guess is, since, well, I'll talk about it in a bit. Hold on. So this organization is funding Iria's research to study whatever Satoko's illness is. And now he could actually be researching some illness that Satoko has, or studying the biological structure of those from Hinamizawa to maybe take out someone or the village through biological like warfare. So think of like a turbo cancer that literally causes you to claw out your own throat, or it could be something else. It could be something worse. Now, Takano and Tomidake are literally just cogs in the machine. They play their part blending into the village. One is a nurse, the other is a photographer, but in reality, it's a cover so they can kind of go to the clinic or walk around the village without any problems. Now, we know, again, Tomidake is a cog, he does his part, and then he gets killed, like the night of the Watanagashi, and so does Takano. And my guess as for why Takano gets killed is because she kind of leaks the secrets of whatever the fuck is going on to, like, 2 people every timeline. She does it for she leaks it to Shion and then also to Rena. So my guess is, since Rena actually fucking goes through with it sometimes in some of the timelines, that's why she gets taken out by the mountain dogs. And that would be my guess as to why she like gets axed. Anyway, I'm still not 100% sure who kills Rika. It could be the mountain dogs. It could be that they kill her at the very end. I'm not sure. It could be that because of her role in this whole like machination, she might be immune to the bioweapon. It could be that they used her cells or something to test things out, or I don't know. Maybe she's got some immunity because of, I don't know, fucking Oyashiro-sama protecting her or some shit. I don't know. So she has to be killed the morning before it happens, and everyone dies at night. And she's the quote-unquote next victim of Oyashiro-sama. because it's the Watanagashi. So that's again, most people don't really know that Tomitake or Takano died. So for all we know, throughout the course of the past 5 years, we have a quote-unquote real victim of the Oyashiro-sama's curse, someone killing someone, but there could be others that just disappear, you know? And they might die due to the guise of Oyashiro-sama, I don't know. Or under the guise of Oyashiro-sama's curse. Anyways, the Great Hinamizawa disaster is just a cover-up by the faction or government that is working in the shadows, that was created to test out a bioweapon on a small village for whatever means that they end up having. So they end up just researching this drug or this virus. They release it upon this village overnight, and then everyone dies. Literally everyone gets fucking killed. And that's the general framework that I have. Now, I think I'm pretty close, but again, I just need like some of the final like pieces, like maybe some final names or final motives. But this is currently the theory that I'm going with. Shady organizations researching a bioweapon. They tested on Hinamizawa. Now, the things that I cannot explain so far, let's see. I'm trying to think. I still can't explain who kills Rika. I still don't know, but I'm pretty sure. I guess I'm gonna find out this chapter. I still don't 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure who kills Rika. Same with what's the other one? Hold on. There was another plot point. From what chapter? Oh, so I guess specifically the alien thing. Like, we had an entire... Like, the alien thing is just one giant metaphor. I want to know what that metaphor was for. I'm going to assume it gets answered this subchapter. Maybe, or by the end of this chapter. Because remember, we have this chapter left to go. And then there's still one more after this. So, so if this was like 2006 or whatever, it'd be different. I'd be like, oh man, I can't believe Higurashi's over. But it's not 2006. It's almost 20 years past 2006, meaning that there's definitely something else that's going to happen after this chapter, which is unfortunate. But if you suspend your belief, you get super engrossed into the game, well then, for all you know, you're like, oh man, fucking can't believe the game's over. And then you're like, ah, shit, that's right, there's another chapter after this. Anyway, let me get the spoiler button out of the way. And then give me 1 second. Okay. Let's just go to the ending now. Or to the penultimate chapter. Let's start chapter 11. Now, before anything, do remember, this is happening during the night of the Watanagashi. Last chapter, we had the Watanagashi, everything kind of went smoothly, and then they just kind of ended it. They kind of just cut straight to the end. So, let's see what's going on.
でもどうしてだい？どうして僕と高野さんが殺されなきゃならないんだい？
あらあら、私たちが5年目のたたりに名前を連ねられるなんて名誉な話よ。
As I'd expected, they didn't really take me telling them that they'd be killed on the night of the festival seriously. They did keep their promise to tighten up my security after I showed them to the ritual storehouse. However, they hadn't given one thought to their own safety. Oh well. Like I said, I didn't expect them to believe me. If they were willing to take me seriously, I could have easily changed their fate a long time ago.
もう一度言いますです。富武は喉をかきむしって、高野はどこか遠くの山奥で焼かれて死にますです。
喉をかきむしるって、それはレベル5の末期症状のことかい？
え？ The fuck is level 5?
大丈夫だよ。僕はちゃんと注射を受けてる。
What shots did you take, Tomitake?
そんなことはありえないよ。
So, is level 5 the disease that Satoko has? He says he took the shots, which I guess that's the what Satoko has to take every time for whatever the fuck she has. Maybe they were able to isolate that disease that she's got, and now that's what they were trying to release upon the masses. So like if Satoko doesn't take her shot, she'll claw her throat out, or maybe something else. She'll just go manic and kill herself. Anyway.
私だってあんまりね。どこか遠くの山奥で焼死なんて失礼な話だ。それがあなたの夢の中に出てきたというの？
今夜だけでもどうか気をつけてほしいのです。騙されたと思ってどうか僕の言うことを聞いてはくれませんですか？
私たちの身に迫る何かというのも夢のお告げなのかしら。大丈夫よ。あなたの身辺は山犬がちゃんと警護しているわ。今日だって8人があなたの近辺を警護しているのよ。
ありがとうです。僕の警護は十分助かっています。ですから高野たちも同じく用心してほしいのです。
心配してくれてありがとう。大丈夫だよ。こう見えても体は鍛えてるんだ。降りかかる火の粉くらいはちゃんと払えるよ。
Tomitake flexed his biceps and smiled. He was probably trying to make me feel better, but all he really did was make me feel sadder. I would just be like, look, Tomitake, you're gonna walk back home. When you go down the mountain, you're gonna get surrounded on this street corner, and you're gonna get injected, you're gonna claw out your own throat, and you will die. And Takano, you will somehow get ambushed on your way to your car, and you will be burned to death in a fucking oil drum in the middle of the mountains. This is the sad part about being me. I know the future, but I can't tell them. It's as if that was a rule of the world. People tend not to believe what I tell
で
them.
も死ぬのです。富武と高野が死ねば次は僕が殺されるのです。二人が死んだら誰が僕を守ってくれるのですか？
どうも相当悪い夢を見たみたいね。大丈夫よ。もし万が一私たちが死ぬようなことがあっても山犬があなたを警護するわ。
山犬は本当に僕を守ってくれるのでしょうか？守ってくれた試しはないのです。
そんなことないわ。あなたがふっかけた喧嘩にも現れたでしょ。あなたの近辺を常に警戒してくれているわ。もちろん平時にはそこまでの警戒はしていないけれど、先日のあなたの要望以来、あなたへの警戒態勢は非常に高度な状態を維持しているわ。入江所長の警護よりも厳重なくらいよ。
富武と高野が死んだ後もその警戒態勢は維持されますですか？
It's actually a pretty interesting sentence that that Takano just said. You even have a better security team than Dr. Idia. Makes you wonder, why the fuck would Idia need a security team in the mountains? Who would want to try to kill Dr. Idia? And why?
無論よ。あなたの身ほど大事なものはないんだから。
僕たちは今夜殺されてしまうともう決まってるのかい？参ったな。
富武に生き残る意志がないのなら死んだ後の私の身にしか興味がないです。
My words must have left a mark on his heart. He looked much more serious after I said that to him.
やれやれ。分かったよ。せいぜい今夜気をつけるよ。沖宮へ戻るときは僕にも警護をつけることにする。
Imagine him. Imagine that security guard is the one that's like, yeah, how's the festival, man? And then they're just talking like normal. Security guard kind of starts walking like one step slower. He pulls out a syringe from his pocket and just like stabs him in the neck with it. And he's like, well, have fun, Tomitake. And he just claws his own throat out as he goes berserk.
二人の時に襲われるのだと思います。だから今夜二人きりになってはダメなのです。
Make sure not to be alone with each other tonight. Oh, okay. If they're alone together. Okay.
あらあら、焼いてるのかしら。おませさんね。
Like I thought, I can't change their fates. When we saved Satoko, everyone shared the same sense of urgency. That's why we all got together and saved her before it was too late. However, these two have no sense of urgency at all. How can I make them understand? I sighed and gave up.
富武、高野、さようなら。今日までありがとうでした。
ちょっと待ちなよ。リカちゃん。
I had nothing else to say to them now. Oh boy. She's literally like, farewell. I will never see you again. Instead, it might be worth talking to someone else. If I could get someone else to protect them, I might be able to change something. I can't give up yet. Fate is as thin as a piece of paper. It's just like the lid on a jar of jam. It's not going to open unless you believe it will. That's not how jars of jam work. I have to believe I can change my fate. If I don't, it's not going to change.
富武さんと高野さんがですか？それは本当ですか？
I've told Irie about this so many times in the past. Irie tends to listen to me more seriously than Takano and Tomitake do. However, that doesn't mean that he can actually do something about it.
お社様の巫女の僕が嫌な予感がするから。では、理由になりませんですか？
わかりました。
Right. You also have to remember, Rika is currently wearing... Oh, what the fuck was the name of it? Hold on. God damn it. Miko. She's wearing Miko clothing right now. So she's wearing the Shrine Maiden outfit, the white shirt and the red pants, basically. So she's walking around telling all these people, hey, by the way, you're gonna die, and they're like, yeah, I guess we will, huh? And then right now, her being like, I'm the Shrine Maiden, is that not a good reason? And then she's dressed like one right now. So imagine like a 10-year-old dressed like a Shrine Maiden telling you, hey, these people are gonna die. Like someone might not take that seriously, unfortunately.
そうおっしゃるなら、お社様のご神託かもしれませんね。今夜そんな事件があれば、5年目のたたりということになってしまいます。
It would be the 500th time in a row.
お二人には注意するよう、私からも伝えましょう。
All Idia would end up doing would be warning the two of them. Which was exactly the same thing as what I did. In other words, it wouldn't matter in the least. Idia is just a researcher and he has no ability to deal with unexpected trouble. That's why Takano works for him after all. Idia is just a researcher and he has no ability to deal with unexpected trouble, and that's why Takano works for him. Because he's just some guy. Okay. Interesting line.
くれぐれもよろしくお願いしますです。ペコリ。
Who else would treat me seriously? Who else would be able to prevent Tomitake and Takano's death? That's right. There's one man who's been fighting the curse of Oyashiro-sama with all his might. Oi-san.
あれ古デさん探してたんですよ。赤坂さんがぜひお別れの挨拶をしたいと言って探してたんですが。
つくづく赤坂とは肝心な時に縁がないのです。
先日の温泉の件をずいぶん恨まれているようですね。赤坂さんも何も恩返しができなかったことを悔やまれていましたよ。長い休みが取れたら改めてひなみ沢に行きたいと言っていました。それを奥さんに勘違いされちゃったみたいで。可愛いけどあの奥さん家に帰ると怖い人なんだろうな。
You came back to this village to see some 10-year-old girl? Are you fucking serious? He's like, no, I came to take you to an onsen and play mahjong and stuff.
大石、実は大切な話があるのですが、誰も信じ。
いかがなさいましたか？
I've spoken to him several times in the past too. He usually takes me pretty seriously. However, after they die, he starts suspecting me. That's why I stopped talking to him.
それをどこで聞いたんですか？どの辺で？
I told him that I heard someone talking about murdering them in the crowd. That way he might not be suspicious of me after the murder really happens.
確かに富武さんはよそ者だし、高野さんと合わせれば2人。1人が死んで1人が消えるか。確かに5年目のたたりとしてはあってもおかしくなさそうですね。デマの可能性もありますが、わかりました。ダメでもともと。お二人をマークさせましょう。
Yeah, because imagine, like, like imagine the past. You're like, hey, by the way, Takano and Tomitake are gonna die. And he's like, okay, I'll listen to you. He keeps an eye out on them. And he's like, oh, they did die. Okay, Rika, what the fuck do you know? And he starts harassing her for 2 weeks until, you know, she fucking dies. And then he's like, ah, fuck. But then again, everyone dies. Anyway.
襲うなら、ひなみ沢と沖宮の間の道だとも言っていたように思いますです。
Tomitake's body will be found on a road leading out of the village. From what I remember, he's discovered where the concrete road turns to gravel.
わかりました。車を1台張り付かせましょう。そのくらいの余裕はありますので。
He agreed to get involved as he wasn't suspicious of me either. I'm sure it seems odd to people that Oishi actually believe this phony-sounding story of mine. The thing about Oishi is that he strongly believes that there is no smoke when there's no fire. I've learned from experience that he tends to believe my information. However, that personality of his has caused me so much trouble in previous worlds. Of course, there's no question why he's so eager to believe me either. This is the last chance, his last chance to expose the curse of Oyashiro-sama before his retirement. Even if it might be fake, he still wanted to believe it. That was convenient for me, since I couldn't show proof.
くまちゃん、聞こえますか聞こえますか？沖宮への帰り道の途中にパトを1台張り付かせてください。いえ、単なる警戒です。良くないことがそこら辺で起こるかもしれないという噂が入りまして。
Now, one thing to note, because again, if you're just reading this and you're super engrossed, right? We know Rika is going around talking to these people. So just imagine if you're watching, let's say from an eagle's eye view or a bird's eye view. You're watching this festival from a top, and you're following Rika. She goes to the area by the tree next to her home, and is talking to Takano and Tomitake about whatever. And then she looks disappointed when she's done talking to them. She then goes to Irie, and Irie is like kind of serious about it. And then he's like, all right, I'll try to talk to them, right? Maybe if you follow Irie, he goes and talks to Takano and Tomitake for whatever reason. Then you have, again, Rika going to Oisan. She finds him in the middle of the festival, and then they walk a little bit to, like, another area. And they talk some more. If you're following all this, you would probably get a little suspicious. Remember, Rika has, like, 10 plus people watching her right now. They're all observing her, and they're all communicating with each other from the shadows as they're watching Rika do all of this. Which might seem very, very, very suspicious, if I'm honest. So, this might change shit up. Like, you know, they might be like, hey, maybe for whatever reason she's warning them. I don't know. Just be careful. Whatever, right?
2人程度でいいでしょ
And this is again assuming the mountain dogs are fucking involved in this.
う。お願いいたします。
ありがとうです。誰も僕のことを信じてくれないので困っていたところなのです。
それを信じるのが警察です。何事もなければむしろ無事を喜ぶべきじゃないですか。出動を空振りこれを喜べ。私の先輩の言葉です。それにせっかくのタレコミ情報を見過ごして事件を防げなかったら これほど悔しいことはありませんからね。
You know, I wonder if things would have been different had Rika mentioned something like, "Hey, I heard some people talking about killing you two tonight in the festival." If she would have said what she told Oishi-san right now, maybe they would have taken her a lot more seriously. Maybe. I don't know. I see. That's his way of thinking about things. That's why he believed me without question. I hope he won't consider me a suspect after they find their bodies tomorrow. I shouldn't worry about that now. I can still do more. Who else should I talk to? Should I talk to my friends? I can't give up. I should at least try.
まさかそんな物騒なことを言ってる人がいるのかい？よりにもよってこの日に不謹慎だな。
あれか？
See, now the problem with this is the only reason the curse existed was because the village kind of wasn't in unison. But Keiichi kind of like rallied them all together under one cause, which was, hey, to protect Satoko, right? The only reason the curse existed was because people thought that they would be talking behind each other's backs. But then that kind of stopped being a thing. But now, if this word gets out, like, hey, someone's talking about killing Tomitake and Takano, then someone might actually do it.
今日起こるかもしれないって噂のお社様のたたりってやつか？
うん、連続4年起こってるからね。やっぱり今夜も起こるかもしれないと思ってる人も少なくないみたいだね。
怒ると思うのは勝手でございますけど、富武さんと高野さんを名指しするなんて失礼な話ですわね。富武さんと高野さんにも念のため伝えた方がいいんじゃないかな。もう伝えましたですが、信じてもらえなかったです。
そりゃそうだろうな。でも万が一何かあった後じゃ遅いしな。大石さんに話した方がいいんじゃないか？
もちろんもう話しましたです。
へえ、リカちゃまはなかなか手際がいいじゃないですか。でも確かに用心に越したことはないです。今夜だけは。ひなみ沢村連続開始事件、通称お社様のたたり。はっきり言って何年も続かれちゃ困るんだよね。面白がって模倣するバカも出てくるし、何より村のイメージダウンにしかならない。
つまり今夜何も起こらなければそれで連続はついえるわけだろ。なら今夜起こらないように何かすればいいわけだ。
なんかって何ですの？悪いことが起こらないように村中で見回りでもしますの？
見回りなんかしたらかえって不用心な気がします。
Yeah.
そもそも手の打ちようなんてあるんですか？一応綿流しの準備会の方では連続開始事件を模倣しようとする変質者が紛れ込む可能性もあるので、見かけない顔には警戒しようってことになってる。
ひなみ沢はよその人の顔はわかるからね。
Right.
見慣れない人がいたらすぐわかる。だからきっと大丈夫だと思うけどな。でもそれでもきっと富武と高野は殺されるのです。リカちゃん、そうだね。私たちにもできることをしてみようよ。
そうだな。一晩中を護衛はできないだろうけど、せめて祭りが終わるまでの間近くにいようぜ。人が近くにいれば悪い連中もおいそれと手出しはできねえだろ。
I couldn't tell if they really believed me or not, but they listened to me at least. We decided to keep our eyes on Tomitake and Takano and protect them for the rest of the night. Guess I've done everything I can now. Though, it's hard to believe this is enough to prevent their deaths.
あとは明日目が覚めた時、何も起こっていないかどうかね。リカは富武たちの死を防げると思っていますですか？
And speaking of, like, I don't know if you've ever been anxious or very nervous about something. I don't know how you can sleep something like this off, if that makes sense. It seems very difficult to do when you know something bad is gonna happen. Something bad fucking happens. And then I don't know, like, how are you supposed to go to bed knowing, oh, by the way, this person's dying tomorrow, this person's dying tomorrow, I can't do shit about it. You know? Anyway.
無理かもしれない。やはりあの二人が死ぬのは私の命運が尽きることを知らせる時計の時報なのか。でもさっき高野も言った。山犬が私への警護を厳重にしてくれているから、仮にあの二人が殺されても、そうしてる間に東京から応援も来るだろうしね。いつものように富武たちが殺されたとしても、その後の状況はこれまでの世界とは少し違う。
So, one final thing. I did give my theory about what I think is going to happen at the beginning. And my theory is still that the Diamond Dogs are the ones... The Mountain Dogs are the ones that end up killing Rika. So... Shit. God damn it, what the fuck was it? I lost my train of thought for like a second because I thought of Diamond Dogs. Fuck. Okay, if I remember, I'll mention that again. God damn it.
それでもダメなら。
Oh, right. So, since Rika now knows that they're going to be protecting her, if for some reason she still dies, she might, when she wakes up in that prison world or whatever, that prison dimension, she might realize, fuck, they're the ones who kill me. Then maybe she wants to go at it again one more time for chapter 8. And then maybe we literally do have, like, Metal Gear Rika as she infiltrates the base and has to, like, stop all this shit by destroying everything. If that's what ends up happening, that's gonna be insane. Seeing a, like, 9-year-old girl do all this shit. That would be really fucking fun. Then we can really get Invisible by Duran Duran playing. Even though that, that song was never in MGS5, but sure.
潔く死ぬしかないわね。とにかく今回は最後の最後まで諦めない。あがける限りあがく。どうせ無駄だから残りの時間をワインで過ごすなんて後ろ向きなことは絶対にしない。リカの好きなようにするといいのです。羽生は相変わらずどうせダメだと思ってる？僕はいいもダメもないです。あるがままが運命ですから。
It's only fate. What do you mean it's only fate? So, like, we know Rika is quote-unquote a prophet. But her prophecies come from, well, her, experiencing all this shit. So, like, So, can Hanyu actually see the future? Is Hanyu actually a literal prophet? And she can see the future? Or, Also, welcome back, Billy. I'm glad that class is now over for you. Or could it just be literally her just being like a pessimist? Right, hey, nothing's gonna change. It's quote-unquote fate that you die.
期待するから心が痛むか。
If I'm an actress trying to get up on the stage, Hanyu is a real bystander. We have very different opinions when it comes to this.
リカ、何があってもどうか気を落とさないで。なんだか今回もどうせダメだって遠回しに言われてるみたいね。最近あんたと話してるとイラつくことが多いわ。
I understand. Hanyu keeps telling me not to get my hopes up because she cares about me. Because I hope to defeat fate, I get hurt when that hope is betrayed. And the more I get hurt, the closer I get to losing my mind and disappearing. For Hanyu, that means losing her only friend. Losing me is probably the most unbearable thought for Hanyu, since she has to live alone, unable to communicate with anyone else. Which makes Hanyu very fucking selfish. Because excluding that, like, if she really cared about Rika, she'd be doing her fucking best to help her. But so far, at least the Hanyu that's been painted or presented to us kinda doesn't care, if that makes sense. Which I know sounds mean and everything, but that's literally all we've been told. It's like, hey, Hanyu kinda doesn't care too much. What she cares about is not being alone, not being able to taste sweets anymore. For all we know, in the past 100 years, she was very, hopeful. But you'd think she would kind of be like, you know what? We're on our final legs. We should at least try our best. Instead of that, she's like, nah, you're dying, Rika. Like, it's, owari da. Kore de owari da. And Rika's like, fuck you, dude. Anyway. Even if I don't have that faith, I still believe that eventually I'd find a way to get out of this maze. Perhaps Hanyu knows something I don't. I might just be a goldfish inside of a fishbowl. There might be no way for me to escape my fate. We're stuck alone inside of a fishbowl, yet every day I knock on the glass believing that I can break it someday. Hanyu keeps telling me that I'm wasting my time. If I get hurt and die, she would have to survive all by herself inside the fishbowl. With that, I think I finally understand our difference of opinions. Hanyu has lived for a much longer time than I have. Because of that, she understands the laws of this infinitely spanning world better than I do. No matter how much I refute Hanyu, I can never refute the truth. Even so, I still have to believe in my own fate. Or faith. I believe in a spear that will pierce the wall of fate. My faith will make that spear sharper than ever. We found Tomitake in a crowd and struck up a conversation with him to keep him around as long as we could. However, as soon as the festival ended, they tried to leave. If they left now, I'd never see them again. Mion tried insisting they stay at her house for the night, but Tomitake refused. Everyone tried various ways to stop them from being alone because the murderer might be around. However, we eventually started to believe that they wanted to be alone for adult reasons. And I wound up suggesting that we shouldn't interrupt the two lovebirds.
大丈夫だよリカちゃん。富武のおじさまだって男だよ。いざとなれば高野さんのために獅子奮迅の活躍をしてくれるよ。
そうよね。私に危機があったら二郎さんが体を張って守ってくださるのよね。
そのつもりだよ。
Yeah.
私たちはもう行こう。
That's the plan.
もうだいぶ遅いよ。
ありがとうね。気を利かせてくれて。
くれぐれも誤解しないでくれよ。僕は診療所に忘れ物をしてるんだ。それで診療所の鍵は高野さんが持ってるから、高野さんと一緒に診療所に行くんだよ。
I'm heading to the clinic because I left something there and Takano has the key, so we have to go together. Is that why Tomitake gets killed? Is that why they both get killed? They probably stop by the clinic and do something. Tamper with the evidence, destroy research, steal research. And because they think that nothing's going to happen tonight on the Watanagashi. They probably think that they can get away with it. I doubt it. Because I mean, it'd be a clinic. They would have cameras. Even in the 80s, they had cameras in security, like camera security in buildings. Even if it was kind of primitive, it would be like that the types of cameras, if I recall, that they would have back then, were ones that showed an image and they would take a picture every so many seconds, right? It would flicker basically, and then if you quote unquote played it back, it would show you, like, let's say a person moving across the hall. It would be them at the start of the hall, them 3/4 of the 1/4 of the way through, then 2/4 of the way through, then 3/4 of the way through, then them at the end, and it would play over the course of like 5 seconds. It wasn't one smooth line of them, like every single frame of them moving. So they would still get caught in some way, shape, or form, unless this is them just lying about going to the clinic I'm overthinking it probably. We'll see.
へえ富武のおじさまナースプレイとは奥が深いです
She said nurse play specifically for cosplaying purposes.
違うよシオン。きっと分娩台を使ったお医者さんごっこなんだよ。
Rena's the one that hits them?
ナースプレイってなんだろう
Oh my god.
がっちり理解できてるなら照れ隠しに殴るのはやめろ。
I can just picture Mion and Shion like on the ground. The way like in Ranma 1/2, whenever he gets hit, whenever a character gets hit in that anime or in that manga, they always like they're on their backs. They have their legs kind of crossed, but their feet are touching. And then they have like their arms out to the side, bent in like an L shape. And then they have like the horns out, like, you know, like the metal horns, like the two middle fingers pointed towards the palm, and then the thumb and pinky and index finger and pointing finger pointing outwards, kind of like a fox as well, like that one, but without, you know, you touching your two middle fingers with your thumb. Your thumb is stretched out. So that's how I picture both of them on the ground right now with like smoke coming out of their heads.
それからミオンとシオン、お前ら下ネタだけ意気投合するな。
じゃあねみんな。
Janet. Oh.
本当に忘れ物を取りに戻るだけだからね。ついてきちゃダメだよ。
富武、本当に用心するのですよ。理科の心配しすぎではございませんの？ふぅ。
Everyone laughed when Satoko yawned. It seemed like a good time to call it a day. Alright, well, stream's over then. It doesn't feel like I was going to change their fate. I just hope that they pay attention, and that they're prepared for whatever faces them. I still might have a chance. All I can do now is pray.
それじゃあ富武さん、またぜひその時は写真を見せてくださいね。
その罰ゲームのシャツ、ぜひ着てきてくださいね。
よっ、美女との一夜、羨ましいね。ヒューヒュー。
They're like, oh man, she's like my fucking coworker, dude. Like, that shit's fucking awkward, man. We have to talk about this shit in the office. I have to see her every fucking day. I have a girlfriend back home and everyone thinks I'm fucking this chick. It's terrible.
またねみんな。次に会うのは秋頃かな。
私たちが今夜殺されなければねそれじゃみんなおやすみなさい。
おやすみなさい。
That was the best I could do on the night of the Watanagashi. Alright, and that's it. Stream's over. I guess we got the finale in a day or so. And then we'll see what happens. Let's go ahead and read the tips and then call it a day. Please tell me what happened this night. This is like a box with a cat inside. Please tell me what happened this night. I don't know if the cat is alive or dead inside the box. Please tell me what happened this night. The cat in the box is dead. Okay, so we got Schrodinger's cat metaphors. So now we get to follow Tomitake and Takano as they go through their night, something we've never seen before. Tomitake gathered up his paperwork and slipped it inside his bag.
嫌にしつこかったね。そんなに僕らに死んでほしいのかな。
Hoshin. Hoshin is star or wish? One of those two. Yeah, I think it's star. And I believe the sentence itself, the way it was structured, is like they might be wishing upon a star for our deaths. Something along those lines. Oh, not star. Okay, okay. Okay. I don't recognize that kanji though, but let me check. So it is Hoshi, not Hoshin. I believe Hoshin with an N at the end is star. Yeah, Hoshin. Yeah, okay. That was close.
夢の話とはいえ迷惑な話よね。
Just off by a whole character. That looks nothing like anything before. Anyway.
入江所長にリカちゃんの検査を念入りに行った方がいいと言っておいてください。夢見の悪さは何かの予兆かもしれない。リカちゃんに何かあったら大変なことになるからね。
Takano touched Tomitake's hand gently. As he turned bright red, Takano moved in closer and spoke. The way she acts is just too sexy, Tomitake thought.
ねえ次郎さん、とても真面目な話があるの。聞いてくださる？
Oh, hold on. This is happening again. Fuck. That's so lame.
なんだい？高野さんまで真面目な話があるってのかい？まさか高野さんまで僕が喉をかきむしって死ぬ夢を見たなんていうのはなしだよ。
Imagine it's Takano who actually kills Jiro.
そのまさかだとしたら。
え？
Takano stared at him with a mischievous look as if seducing him, and started whispering into his ear.
驚いているのよ。あの子には本当に神通力があるのかもしれないってね。
それはどういうことだい？
What a shame. Takano smiled gently and pulled back her hair. Even seeing her do that made Tomitake's heart race.
私、あなたのことが好きよ。
それは光栄だな。
Takano's fingers curled around Tomitake's chin, stroking, tickling, and caressing it. Her movements were very captivating and seductive.
いろいろな男と付き合ってきたけれど、野心も野生味も私には合わなかった。あなたのような固くて真面目な人が一番相性がいいって分かったの。あなたなら私のすべてを受け止めてくれる。私のことを本当に理解してくれるって信じられるの。だからあなたにならミオのすべてを捧げられる。私のすべてをあなたに抱き受けてもらいたいの。この気持ちがわかるかしら。
So, is Takano in like a separate fishbowl, like underneath the table where Rika and God damn it, what's your fucking name? I almost said Haru, but was it Haru? Isn't it? Jesus fuck. I haven't played the game in a week and I already forget her name. Anyway, could it be that she's like in a separate fishbowl? Hanyu. Yeah, Hanyu, not Haru. Like below both of them. And she herself is also somehow involved in this whole reincarnation fiasco.
高野さん、急にどうしたんだい？
And I mean, right now she's probably like, she's quote unquote seducing him, right? She's fucking around. Maybe she's the one that ends up killing him. This has kind of been implied in the past. If you recall in chapter 3, Keiichi sees his bike in her car and is like, hey, isn't that Tomitake's bike? And Takano very strictly says, or you know, she's very adamant about it not being his bike. Keiichi even says, didn't he have the same model? It's not his fucking bike. And she gets very serious about it. And he's like, yeah, you know what? You're right. It's not his bike. Her voice didn't really sound that affectionate. Tomitake knew from experience that he couldn't grasp what was on her mind, and when she wore a cold smile like that.
いよいよなの。もうじきなの。
It seemed as though she couldn't wait for something to happen. There was a chilling allure to her strange smile that made one question if something exciting was really about to
何
happen.
がもうじきなんだい？
Our deaths. Tomitake asked, trying hard to resist the temptation.
私の夢が叶う日が。
君の夢？
そう。私の夢。話したことがあったわよね。それともベッドの上で話したことは記憶に残らないのかしら？
いや、覚えてるよ。君の夢。
Kimi no Yume. So they do fuck. I guess. Maybe. Tomitake's response was vague. Either he didn't remember or he hadn't understood it very well.
いよいよお社様のたたりが現実のものとなる日がやってくる。その日こそが私の子供の頃からの夢が叶う日。二郎さん、聞いて。私はもうあなたと一緒にはいられないの。
え？それはどういう意味だい？
あなたと私は違う世界に住む存在なの。
Uh-huh.
ここひなみ沢は人の世と鬼の世の接点だから、日の当たる世界のあなたと日の当たらない世界の私が出会えた。でももうそれが終わるの。陽光の降り注ぐ日中に訪れた束の間の月食が日の当たる世界の人間と日の当たらない世界の鬼を引き合わせた。私が何を言っているかわかるかしら？
高野さん、まだビールが抜けないのかい？酔ってるね。
お別れの夜が来たの。日の当たる世界を教えてくれてありがとう。あなたの温かさは日だまりの温かさだったわ。騙し合ったり疑い合ったりしない本当に温かい関係だった。だからあなたと別れるのがとても惜しい。
So by sunlit realm, she means like the world of humans, right? The side of humans. This is implying that she really is not human, or she's something else. She pulled herself away from Tomitake and slowly stepped back, as if signaling the time had come for them to part.
君が何を言っているのかわからない。何の話なんだい、高野さん。
だからあなたに選んでほしい。私のそばにいることを選んで日の当たる世界のすべてを捨てる勇気を見せてほしい。あなたが私の耳元で囁いてくれたことがどれも本当だったなら、二郎さんに戸惑いはないはず。
By that time, Tomitake understood that Takano was asking him to make an important decision.
まさか君は。
そのまさかなの。二郎さん。
Tomitake got up from his seat and looked Takano straight in the eyes. There was a faint glimmer of hostility within those eyes.
私より仕事が大事なの？やっぱり。
信じられない。君のことを信じていたのに。
Those words were words of rejection. Takano's lips twisted into a cruel smile.
お社様は人と鬼を融和したそうだけど、そのお社様でも私とあなたを融和することはできなさそうね。
Takano slowly opened the door. 6 men in overalls were standing there at the ready. Tomitake was frozen in shock. The 6 men walked up to Tomitake with no expressions on their faces. It was immediately obvious that they were going to do something to harm him.
これは何の真似だ。
ひなみ沢症候群は導火線に火がついた爆弾と同じ。それが爆発する前に東京はあなたに爆弾を解体してしまうことを命じた。でもね、東京にはこの爆弾が派手に爆発して欲しがっている人もいるの。
So Tomitake wanted to stop the virus from spreading or whatever. And Takano, being the sadistic fuck that she is like, we want it to happen.
バカな。
Actually, here, I'll stop talking for a bit. I'll let this music play out and this scene play out, and we'll go from there.
そんなことをして誰が何の得をするんだ。
得のないことをする人なんてこの世にはいないわ。損得があるからベクトルが生まれる。だから私を前にそれを問うことは無意味ね。
信じられない。そんなバカなことを考えている連中がいるのかい。ひなみ沢症候群はとても危険な病気であることは君も知っているはずだ。
そうよ。爆発すればとても大変なことになる。だからこそ東京も失態を隠しきれない。
君はその連中に買収されたというのか。
元からそういう目的で送り込まれているの。申し訳ないわね。
Game was rigged from the start. Oh
出会
no.
った時から私とあなたは住む世界が違ったの。
それで僕をどうするつもりだ。
あなたの協力があれば私の仕事はとても楽になるわ。もちろんそれはあなたにとっては裏切り行為にあたる。
僕に寝返れというつもりか。
二郎さん、私に囁いてくれた愛が本当なら黙って私に協力してはくださらないかしら。もちろん報酬は望みのまま。あなたが私を望むならば一生をあなたのためだけに仕えてあげる。あなたが望むとき、あなたの望むところであなたの望むようにどんなことでも従うわ。私の体はあなただけのもの。あなたの重欲を満たすためだけに独り占めをしていいのよ。私もあなたにならあなただけのしもべになってあげてもいいねえ。私の全身にあなたの匂いを染み付けさせたいとは思わない？
Her words were a kind of assault, directly hammering at the emotions men had difficulty resisting. They were like an evil spell to control his heart. Upon hearing them, Tomitake felt an unknown sensation rush up his spine as his feet froze in place entranced. However, he forced himself to resist the temptation. He sealed the cracks in his wall of reason to stop Takano from forcefully entering his heart.
断る。
She had known from the start that Tomitake was going to refuse her. Even so, Takano let out a triumphant laugh. It's funny. She thought Tomitake would refuse right away. However, it took him a while to refuse because of how effective she was at seducing him. The time it took him to refuse her was one victory for Takano. For Tomitake, it was a time of humiliation. Takano continued to laugh. She sounded rather like an evil witch.
そう言うと思ったわ。 れでこそ私の大好きな二郎さんよ。
Huh? Takano raised up her right hand and gave a signal to the mountain dogs. This is the first time we're seeing them, I believe. Ever. I don't recognize the sprite at all, so I'm gonna go with the, yeah, this person's brand new. Let's quickly look at their console sprite. What the fuck is this? Oh, God. Oh, what is this? Who is this homunculus? What the fuck is this shit, dude? Look at all the folds in his shirt. It's so unnatural. Oh, it's like he's wearing like foreskin or some shit. Anyway.
岡野木君、君も寝返ったのか。
失礼しますね、富武ニードの。
Lieutenant.
二郎さんも鈍いわね。山犬は初めから私の部下よ。この診療所は最初から私たちが掌握している。
Yeah, the remake sprites are fucking garbage.
知らないのはあなたと入江所長だけよ。
くそ。
Tomitake moved into action, sensing the danger that was about to befall him. His fist thrust out quick as lightning, knocking one man down before he could even blink. However, the other mountain dogs certainly weren't going to just stay there and watch. They all attacked him as one. He tried to strike back with an elbow, but he simply couldn't overcome the difference in numbers. Tomitake tried his best, but soon enough, the mountain dogs had wrestled him to the ground.
くそー。
Oh boy. And then we get a CG of what looks to be like a different type of play that they were talking about before. Look at Takano. She looks so fucking smug. She looks like a fucking gremlin. God. Anyway.
話せ話せんか。こいつジタバタすんな。
They pinned him down so that he couldn't move an inch.
さすがね、二郎さん。6人がかりでも手こずらせるなんて素敵よ。
Takano walked over and smiled while looking down at Tomitake.
ねえ、二郎さん。どうせ断るんでしょうけれど、私の自己満足のためにもう一度聞かせてね。やっぱり意見を変えて、私の味方になってはくれないのかしら。
無駄だ。君の仲間にはならない。
その一言が欲しかったの。私の未練を断ち切るためにね。
Takano was holding a small case in her hands. She opened it and showed Tomitake what was inside.
その注射は。
いやね。想像がついてるくせに。
バカな。すべて破棄したはず。
Oh, seems like stream crashed for a second. But we should be back. So if anything happened, just refresh. Anyway.
二郎さん、あなたはこう思っているでしょう。たとえ破棄した例の注射だとしても、自分は予防薬を投与済みだから注射されても免疫があるはず。そうでしょ。だから怯えてないのよね。あなたが今回ひなみ沢に来た時に投与された予防薬はね、違うのよ。あなたは今自覚してないだろうけども、すでにレベル3クラスで感染してる立派なひなみ沢症候群の潜在患者なの。二郎さん、注射するとき目を背ける癖があるでしょ。ダメよ。自分に何の注射がされてるか毎回ちゃんと確認した方がいいわよ。
くそー。
Tomitake struggled to get away, but he simply couldn't move. Upon seeing his sorry state, Takano laughed with glee.
H173 は二郎さんもよくご存知のはずよね。投与することで感染し、かつ興奮状態を誘発することで疑似的にレベル5を発症させる。どれだけ劇的な効果があったかは二郎さんもご覧になってたんじゃないかしら。被験者は盛んに頸部、液下のかゆみを訴えていたわね。過去の症例の文献から見ると、どうもレベル5発症時にリンパ節に異常なかゆみを訴えるケースがあるみたい。抗原抗体反応の一種かもしれないわね。だから二郎さん、あなた運が良ければリカちゃんが予言した通りの死に方ができるわよ。自傷で自ら死ぬか、それとも脳を憎悪で焼かれて廃人になるか。あなたはどちらになるのかしらねえ、二郎さん。
Or become disabled for life.
やめろやめろー。
これじゃあお注射は難しいわね。眠らせてあげて。
One of the men covered Tomitake's mouth with a towel soaked in some kind of chemical. He tried to fight it off with all his might, but his strength eventually left him, and he became as quiet as a beached whale. What a metaphor. Sorry, what a simile. As a beached whale, Takano stroked his face to make sure that he couldn't resist. Then she brought the needle to toward his throat. She pushed it right into his skin. As she squeezed down on the syringe's plunger, the skin surrounding the tip of the needle swelled up, and eventually the contents were absorbed into his body.
さよなら、二郎さん。次に目が覚めるときは楽しい悪夢の世界にいるのかしらね。
Mountain dogs finally got off of him. He couldn't even twitch.
誰か彼を私の車のトランクに運んで。
Two of the men lifted up Tomitake and carried him outside.
そうそう。彼の愛用の自転車も一緒だときっと喜ぶでしょうね。地獄へ行っても好きなだけサイクリングができる。
The mountain dogs all quietly laughed at the joke.
ではこれより終末作戦を開始します。
Operation Doomsday? Yeah, okay. They stopped laughing as she began to speak.
おこのぎは以後の連絡を待て。入江所長から目を離すな。あとフルで理科にも注意してね。どんな第六感か知らないけど、少なくとも彼の死に方だけは当てたわ、あの子。もっと研究したかったけど残念ね。
了解ですわ。こちらはお任せください。道中はお気をつけて。
気をつけるほどもない旅よ。ところで入江所長は？
祭りの後の打ち上げ中でしょう。まだ神社の敷地内にいるとのことですね。
あの研究しかできない坊やがどう取り乱すか見れないのが残念ね。
The mountain dog started laughing again too. Takano checked the time on her watch. It was nearly 10 p.m. Most people must have left the festival for home. Those people still there were probably enjoying the after party while getting drunk inside the shrine. It was a good time for her to leave without being seen by
で
anyone.
は私も出発するわ。死んでくるわね。
After saying that, she left the clinic alone. She left through the back door. She left amid the moonlight, the singing of insects, and the sound of a river. It was a typical night in Hinamizawa. While enjoying all these sensations, Takano got inside her car. Tomidake was sleeping inside the trunk. His bicycle, on the other hand, was loaded into her back seat. How ironic. Your bicycle has a better seat than you. I'll let you out there soon. I should leave him by the road that leads to Okinomiya. That'll be a good spot. Takano found a good place to drop him off. Wait a minute. But they have a patrol car there. But she gave up on it as there was a police cruiser parked in that area. She figured that they were probably patrolling to make sure the 5th year's curse didn't happen. Good job, officers. No one would ever suspect that there's a curse packed in my trunk right now. Takano drove onto less lit streets with rougher roads. Eventually, the mountain road ended, and she was surrounded by darkness. There were rice fields nearby. She could tell by the sound of the croaking frogs. Takano parked her car by the pitch-black roadside. She had to stop here, otherwise she'd be too close to a residential area. Indeed, she was nearly in Okinomiya. She would have dumped him earlier, but the police cruiser had foiled that plan. Takano pulled Tomitake out of the trunk and left him by the road. She also left him his bicycle. Tomitake let out a small groan. It probably wouldn't be long until he woke up.
さよなら、次郎さん。あなたのギクシャクした恋の語りも楽しかったわ。もっと聞かせてもらいたかったから、とても残念よ。もうじきあなたは目を覚ますわ。その頃には、あなたはレベル5の末期を迎えてる。あなたは錯乱の挙句、きっと哀れな死に方をするでしょうね。氏脇病が語るように、やはりあなたも喉をかきむしって死ぬのかしら。それを観察できないのがとても残念。そして、あなたの異常な死と私の失踪は、この地に5年目のたたりとして刻まれるでしょう。
Wait, hold on. Oh, this is the continuation, sorry. So your mysterious death and my disappearance will complete the 5th year's curse of Oyashiro-sama.
そうしてお社様のたたりは、ますます強固なものとなって残る。その礎となれるなんて。次郎さん、これはとても名誉なことなのよ。あなたはこれから命ある身を捨てて、永遠の存在の一部となれるのだから。
Incredible. So she's willing to partake in this to make sure that the curse idea spreads so that they can then kill everyone. That was her last farewell to Tomitake. Takano got back inside her car and started driving. Being 100% honest with you, I don't know why Erika didn't say, hey Hanyu, follow them. Follow them and tell me what you see. Tell me exactly what happens. She could see the place she left Tomitake in her rearview mirror, but it was already shrouded in darkness. Takano drove through the main street of Okinomiya and made a few turns, heading for the dark mountains in the distance. It had been a while since she left Hinamizawa. It was almost midnight. She might have already made it to the neighboring prefecture. It was difficult to tell because she couldn't really see anything in the darkness. Takano stopped her car in the middle of it all. Sorry, of all that. After turning off both the engine and the headlights, there really was nothing but darkness surrounding her. It was as if time itself had stopped. Takano wasn't sure how long she waited, but eventually she saw the headlights of a car blinking twice. She blinked her own headlights back at it. Soon she saw several people walking toward her. Two men wearing blue overalls knocked on the window of Takano's car. Obligingly, she opened it. They looked over her face and the paperwork they had in their hands.
ご苦労様、高野よ。
After confirming her identification, they called someone over the radio.
本部どうぞ。ヒナを確保。尾行ないか。
尾行はなし。後方400メートルクリア。
尾行はありません。お疲れ様でした。どうぞ指揮者へ。書類をお預かりします。
書類カバンはトランクの中よ。これが鍵。あとコーヒーがもらいたいわね。入れてくださる？
Oh, hold on. We got a new background. The fuck is this supposed to be? Probably like car lights. Let's look. No. It's a control. What the fuck? Hey, how do we go from this to this? I'm guessing this is inside of like a van or something. Huh. Let's see. Inside the monitors, or on the monitors, are what I think maybe like super like bloomed out or heavily edited images or like screenshots from the original game, like using the original background and sprites, maybe. I can't tell 100%, but it looks interesting. I don't know if Hanyu would have declined. I'm pretty sure like Hanyu would, like, because at that point, like, yeah, they can't do much, but if they would have done that earlier, it would have saved them so much fucking time. They would have already known, oh, by the way, there's a fucking giant government conspiracy going on here, or whatever, and we're gonna like try to develop a bioweapon that we can sell to the highest bidder in like the geopolitical sense, and we're gonna send it to China or something. I don't know. Oh, sorry. The command vehicle was a trailer with a bunch of high-tech communication equipment inside. The light of the electric equipment shone beautifully in the dark.
さあさあ、コーヒーです。どうぞ。
Major, huh? Another man in blue overalls offered her a paper cup.
ありがとう。私の死体の方は大丈夫？
現地にて移送終了との連絡が入っております。
Ah. I knew it. I fucking knew it. She fakes her fucking death.
現地？岐阜の山中でドラム缶で焼け死になのかしら？
死因までは確認させます。
Operation Doomsday. Yeah, Major. That was the name of their mission. The goal of the operation's first stage was Takano's escape from Hinamizawa and the extraction of 18 specific classified documents. The goal had been completed. Assassinating the liaison from Tokyo, Tomitake, was also one of the goals. Why is this blood splatter kind of brown? It's like a very faded reddish brown, almost copper. What is the yeah, and the console background has it in the same color. It might just be a filter. That one had also been completed in the way Takano had planned. Okay, yeah, I assumed it might have just been a flashback thing. He was not killed that way just because Takano wanted to see it. It was intentionally planned that way so that the office in Tokyo would be suspicious of the Idia Institute. Interesting. They were trying to create the story that the Institute was upset with the recent budget cuts and the cancellation of their study. Right. I assumed something like this was going on. So, you have Takano's faction, you have whatever faction back in Tokyo, and then you have the Idia Institute. So we have, of course, Tomitake working for whatever Tokyo Institute this is, and then Takano working for whatever institute she works with the Mountain Dogs. And then we have Idia, who's just Idia. So Idia wanted to keep whatever study going that he was working on. Meanwhile, Takano is like, well, we already have the research. We might as well just pull the plug on this. And then she's stepping back while letting these two organizations, quote unquote, fight it out. Tomitake's mysterious death would be a suitable way to persuade people. Tomitake was not the only one who was expected to die. Takano was expected to do so as well. However, Takano didn't really need to die herself. They had acquired a substitute body for her, so she didn't have to actually die. Right. So this is either going to be someone's body burned to death, some teeth remaining, and some of those teeth were probably molded to be Takano's, or it's a Takano from another dimension. Takano had no idea how they got the body, so it must have been just someone. According to what she heard, that a team in Gifu took care of everything. Once Tomitake and Takano were dead, Tokyo would definitely grow suspicious of the Idia Institute. The main purpose of this mission was to make the Institute look reckless.
申し訳ありません、さあさあ。
Right. And then the body doubles like time of death does not match up with everything. Although eventually we quote unquote get confirmation that's like, oh, the dental records were, you know, just off by a bit. It was an accident. Haha. Now the thing is, they want to blame the fucking Idia Institute for this, but as far as we know, that doesn't happen.
現地の工作班で問題が発生したようです。
問題？どうしたのかしら？
偽装死体の選別にミスがあったそうです。死後24時間経過していたとか。
あら、するとどういうことになるのかしら？
There we have it.
つまりサンサは昨日すでに亡くなられていたことになってしまいます。
Takano's body was supposed to be selected from corpses of people who had died in the same day, or who had died the same day. Yeah, in this case, the plan was to burn the body and make the identification of the corpse more difficult. They'd found a suitable body for the plan. However, they just found out that it had been dead for over a day. That would create a hole in their plans.
現地の方で現在収集に当たっていますので。
Yeah.
いいわ。
It'll make it more fun.
その死体を私ということにしなさい。
は。しかしそれでは。
ひなみ沢を滅びに導くお社様の使いが実は前日に死んでいて、祭りの当日には死者として歩き回っていたか。面白い。それは実に面白いわね。
Oishi? Oishi was long dead, but came to the festival regardless. Oh, no, they mean Takano. Because Oishi is usually the one that is called the messenger, isn't he? Takano laughed with satisfaction for a while. The other people in the vehicle couldn't understand why Takano was laughing so much. Takano continued to laugh as if it was the funniest thing she'd ever heard. Yeah, I assume she meant herself.
岐阜にはそれを私にしろと伝えなさい。そのくらいのほつれがあった方が面白いわ。
よろしいのですか。万が一ということも。
万が一なんてないわ。だって高野美代は現に今日綿流しのお祭りの会場を闊歩していたのよ。
It's gonna confuse the shit out of everyone.
たとえ検視の結果死後24時間以上
Yeah, exactly. And that's what ends up happening. The test results are wrong. Haha. Takano almost seemed to be enjoying the risk.
了解。現場へその旨連絡します。
それより私の死体はドラム缶の中で焼かれていたの？
はい。高速道路近くの山中でドラム缶の中で焼けていたのを発見されたそうです。
Takano seemed surprised to hear that from him. Then she started laughing strangely again. Nobody could figure out why she was laughing like that.
なるほど。お社様の生まれ変わりは伊達じゃないということなのね。あの子にはやはり人知の及ばない何かがあるということを認めなければならない。南沢の山犬に R の監視体制を厳重にするように連絡を。
了解。
失礼します。沖宮警察が富武の遺体を発見したとの無線を傍受しました。
発見したわね。いよいよ始まるわよ。
おいさん、先生が到着してます。
ああ、どうもどうも。どうですか、入江の先生。
Oishi entered the area enclosed by a blue tarp. In there, people from the forensics were taking pictures of the dead body from various angles. Iria was squatting down next to the dead body of Jiro Tomitake. When he stood up, he was white as a sheet.
信じられません。
そりゃ私だって信じられませんよ。初見で見た限り、仏は喉をかきむしっています。それも自分の手でです。こいつはまっとうな死に方じゃない。十中八九、何らかのヤバめな薬物でしょう。
彼は何らかの薬物の常習者だったということでしょうか。
さあね。そいつを調べるのはどうやら我々の仕事になりそうです。
大石さん、この角材は？
多分仏が振り回したんじゃないかと思います。で、途中で捨てて喉をかくのが楽しくなっちゃったんじゃないかと。
角材を何のために振り回したんでしょう？
自衛のためと考えるのが一番自然だと思います。仏の体に外傷がいくつかあるのに気づいてます？
ええ、打撲傷を思わせる跡がいくつか散見できます。
I was thinking, what if he did the bruises to maybe make others people think that he beat the shit out of himself in case he didn't claw out his throat? But maybe that's not it. Maybe he was just, I don't know, striking himself for some reason? Like self-flagellation but with a board?
一番考えられるストーリーは、仏が祭り終了後、沖宮へ帰る途中、ここで何者かに襲われた。
Yeah, it could have also been the mountain dogs. Okay. They meant literally those bruises. Right, okay. I kept thinking, like, I'm thinking way too, like, out of the box. Like, yeah, he got beaten up in the fucking office. We know that much. Okay. So because in other, I believe in other chapters, they mentioned that they would see, or that they found, like, small footprints around his body. And that it was believed that, like, he was defending himself from what they believed to be children. But yeah, the fucking Yamainu fucking got to him right before all this. I don't know why.
それで取り押さえられて、怪しげな注射とかそういうのをされて、その結果錯乱させられて死に至らしめられた。
Right. So this is the whole, just for those that have been following along, they're like, oh, okay, so this is what ended up happening. Yeah, literally what we've seen.
喉をかきむしるように誘導できる薬物なんて
聞
いたことがありません。
私もそっちは専門じゃありませんが、薬中の末期症状に自傷行為ってあるらしいじゃないですか。
Arashi janai desu ka? Also, if they're writing out the katakana for Diamondo, they'd probably just go with Doku as well.
まあ、その辺はうちの鑑識のじい様が調べてくれるでしょう。
おいさん、失礼します。ここから数百メートルのところに富武二郎のものと思われる自転車が見つかりました。
おお、そうですか。ありがとうございます。何か手がかりとかは？
いえ、初見では特には。今鑑識が行ってます。
じゃあつまりその自転車があった場所が襲撃場所と考えていいんでしょうね。それで戦ったり逃げたりしてここまで来た。
Oishi frowned, crossing his arms in front of his chest. Idia was looking at the miserable corpse of Tomidake, and he kept saying this and the same thing.
ありえない。絶対にありえない。
Idia knew right away that Tomitake's death was caused by the terminal symptoms of Hinamizawa syndrome. He hadn't swung the 2x4 at a real person, but probably saw some kind of hallucination due to the L5 symptoms, right? Violent reactions to hallucinations is one of the clearest characteristics of the terminal stage. However, Tomitake supposedly took a vaccine before he came to the village. There was no way he could reach L5 symptoms in such a short period of time. Idia didn't want to believe it, but it was obvious that someone intentionally injected him with the pathogen. The pathogen must have been strong enough to give him L5 symptoms immediately. The only drug that can do that is H173, a chemical weapon that induces an acute onset of symptoms. It makes people hallucinate, which inevitably leads to a horrible death. It's the absolute worst kind of demon. However, they had destroyed all of it due to its dangerous nature. All that was left were helpful chemicals such as vaccines and treatment drugs. And Tomitake was their liaison from Tokyo. Whoever killed them must have had full knowledge about him and his drug. How could that person know he was their liaison? It was then that Irie thought of Takano. Actually, yeah, that's a very good point. Where was it? Yeah. It makes people hallucinate, which inevitably leads to a horrible death. It's the absolute worst kind of demon. So they were somehow able to... So that's basically what Irena was referring to in chapter 6. It wasn't like aliens, but instead it was a pathogen. So maybe that pathogen did come from the swamp. It was then that Irie thought of Takano. Takano is also a watchdog from Tokyo. She's something like a superintendent. It was quite possible that something bad had happened to her too.
そうだ。高野さんはどうなったんです？
え？ああ、お宅の看護師さんの。
多分、富武さんと一緒だったと思うんです。
You mean your nurse? Huh, I don't know, dude.
高野さんは無事なんですか？
先生、彼女の電話番号はわかります？
もちろんです。
熊ちゃん、入江の先生に電話番号を聞いて、署から在宅確認を取らせてください。
了解っす。先生、番号を。
はい。よろしいですか？
Like Keiichi, perhaps? And or other individuals that may have possibly had some sort of delusions due to a disease? Yeah, maybe Rika herself. Kumagai got the phone number, repeated it to make sure he got it right, and dashed out of the blue tent.
高野さんと仏は確か親しい仲でしたよね。
Or also, of course, Satoko.
ええ。
何かトラブルがあったとか、そういうのは聞いたことがあります？
まさか、聞いたことないです。仲のいい二人でした。
Tomitake and Takano weren't just in a close relationship. They were co-workers sent from Tokyo. They had access to information that even Irie didn't. There's no way there was trouble between them.
何事もなけりゃいいんですがね。下手すりゃ仏か、それとも星か。なるほど。看護師なら怪しげな薬物を取り扱えてもおかしくはないですよね。
She gave him a shot of fentanyl.
そんな薬品はうちの診療所にはありませんし、あったとしても厳重に保管されています。高野さんに持ち出せるわけがない。
それでも一般人よりは容易でしょ。
ですからそもそもそんな薬物は聞いたことがないし、当診療所にも存在しません。
Irie made clumsy excuses while he tried to piece together what was going on. However, Irie had no means of knowing the state of affairs in Tokyo, and he couldn't reach any further conclusions. So it was easy to laugh at him, as though he was a frog trapped in a well.
大石さん、留守のようです。署の待機組の方で直接訪問すると言ってます。
先生、すみませんが、高野さんの住所を教えてください。まじゃあ、それプラス県警に今夜出た身元不明の女性死体がないか確認を取ってください。あるいは県外の可能性もあるな。課長に近県にも同様に身元不明の女性死体が出てないか確認を取るよう伝えてください。
了解っす。
沖宮警察が現地の県警本部への接触を開始。サンサ、よろしいのですね。
ええ、構わないわ。そのままで行きなさい。どうせすぐに週末よ。誰かが一人くらい死亡時刻を疑ったって、誰かが耳を貸す前に全てが滅ぶ。
True. We know this happens. We know Oishi finds out when Keiichi is in the hospital or afterwards. Like a few days later. What a crazy fucking, like, turn of events, dude. Don't tell me that's the end. Is that the end? Okay. I was like, oh man, because we're almost reaching the like hour 50 mark, which is kind of when this chapter ends. But we'll see. The day after the Watanagashi, Oishi showed up at her school. It isn't uncommon for Oishi to show up here today. Interestingly, he always asks to see the most key person in that world. He asked for Keiichi in the world where he gets sick. He asked for Rena in the world where she gets sick. In this world, he asked for me.
富武が死にましたか?
Get sick, huh?
ええ、ちょっと尋常じゃない死に方でしてね。薬物か何かで錯乱状態だったんじゃないかと思います。自分で自分の喉をかき破るというショッキングな亡くなり方でした。
やはり抗えないのか。
There was nothing I can do now. I knew this was going to happen. I'm sure Takano is dead too.
高野は
彼女についても残念なご連絡があります。
So he took Rika out of school and then brought her all the way to the shrine?
岐
Why?
阜の山中で焼死体で発見されました。死体の状況から多分考察された後に焼かれたんじゃないかと思っているのですが、どちらにせよ気の毒な話です。
大石の考えは分かってますです。僕が何か知っていると思っているんでしょう。
She probably skipped
いや
true.
いや、まさかまさか。疑うとしたらこの一点だけです。あの人混みの中で小耳に挟めるようなところでこんな物騒な話をする人がいるわけがない。
僕が何かの陰謀の片棒を担いでると思っていますですか？
と思い込みたいところですが、それも引っ込めました。本当にその気なら、あなたは私にあんな入れ知恵をすることはなかったんですからね。
Plus, it would imply that Rika is the one that did commit all the murders in the past. When she's, you know, like 10?
少なくとも、今回の事件を起こそうと考えた何者かとは、相対する位置にいると思ってます。
それが本当なら、とても嬉しいのです。
He's totally suspicious. Oishi threw a 10 yen coin into the offering box and shook the bell in prayer.
どうか今年こそ、平見沢村連続開始事件を終わらせられますように。
そのために、僕に協力しろと。
今のは、お社様にお願いしたんですよ。
Rika repeats herself. So you want me to join your investigation? Oishi's well aware that people call me the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama. That must have been his attempt at a joke.
僕も、こんなたたりは、もう金輪際にしてほしいと思っていますです。
おや、ならフルデさんと私の求めるところは一致するようですね。
僕は昨日、富武の死体が見つかりそうなところを予言しましたです。そこにパトカーはいなかったのですか？
いいえ、ちゃんと巫女様の予言に従って配置しました。ほら、細道路と砂利道の境目になっているあたりがあるじゃないですか。通称村境とか呼ばれているあたりです。あそこら辺はとても暗いですからね。何かやばいことの起こりそうな匂いが一番プンプンするあたりです。
では、富武の死体はどこで？
配置場所よりももっとずっと沖宮寄りの水田地帯の路肩です。
So this is her clue. She talked to people tonight, or the last night. She told them what was going to happen. And then, only 3 people had the authority or power to interfere, or to move out of the way, or to kill in a different spot. So this is where she's going to narrow shit down more than likely. That's not where his body is usually found. If he was fated to hallucinate and die, he would die in the exact same spot, whether the cruiser was there or not. Just because the cruiser was placed there, Tomitake's body was found in a totally different spot. In other words, the existence of the police cruiser disrupted that fate.
でですね、ここからがちょいと面白い話になります。
Yeah, she talks to Oishi, the police cruiser is at the dump site, and then the killers changed their plans.
パトにはですね、私通る車もチェックさせたんです。そしたら高野の車が祭りの終わった後、沖宮方向へ通過したんですよ。
Takano lives in Okinomiya. It wouldn't be strange for her to head back home after the
た
festival.
だ乗ってたのは一人だったんです。富武は乗っていなかった。
Well, I mean, he was with her.
富武はひなみ沢にはいつも自転車で来ますから。
なら自転車をトランクに積んで車に乗せてもらうのが普通じゃありませんか。
Well, she kinda did that.
ですが富武は一緒じゃなかった。にもかかわらず富武の死体はひなみ沢からパトを越えて沖宮の方の水田地帯で見つかる。
つまり
あの真っ暗な中、森の中を突き進んでパトを迂回したなんてできる芸当ではありません。
So due to this change of fate, Oi-san is now sniffing in the right direction.
だとしたらパトに気づかれずに街道を抜けるしか考えられない。古出さん、高野と仏の関係について教えていただけませんか。
恋人同士、それしか知らないです。
高野がね、恋人との最後の夜の仰せを一人で帰るというのが腑に落ちないんです。
She's a strong, independent woman who don't need no man.
富武はその時トランクの中に詰められていて、あの真っ暗な森の中に捨てようとした。
What if?
だがお告げのパトカーがたまたまそこにいちゃったもんで、仕方なくそこを通り抜け、もっと先で富武を捨てた。
What if? Both Tomitake and Takano were sent here from Tokyo. I have no idea what their real identities are. I can't say that Takano had no reason to kill Tomitake. However, I've never considered that possibility before in my life. In the past 100 years. Takano killing Tomitake. But why? I can't think of any reason. Nothing comes to mind. And it's hard to imagine Takano was cornered to the point she had to kill him. In fact, it was more plausible to think that she was enraged when the lovesick Tomitake acted cold towards her and she strangled his neck.
私はあのカップル、どことなく不釣り合いだなってずっと思ってました。こう言っちゃ富武君に失礼ですが、高野が富武を何かに利用しようとして近づいていたとか、そういう話。
ないです。でも話は聞いてみようと思いますです。何か分かったら大石にも知らせますです。
ありがとうございます。村の内部に詳しい方、それも御三家の当主でお社様の生まれ変わりの協力がいただければ鬼に金棒ですよ。
But even the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama couldn't solve this mystery for over 100 years.
でもその高野も殺されたのですよ。どういうことなのですか。
私はもしあなたから垂れ込み、おっと、お告げを聞いていなかったら、多分きっと富武と高野は共に犠牲者で、お社様のたたりの5年目ってことになったんだろうと思い込んだと思います。ですがこうなってくるとどうも違う。どうやらこいつはお社様のたたりの5年目ってことにしようとした巧妙な事件のように見えてきました。
つまり高野が犯人。
Basically, this is what Oishi is trying to say. They're not both victims. The culprit is also pretending to be a victim. This is really hard for me to believe. I can't think of any reason why Takano would do something like this. Oishi only feels the way he does because he doesn't know her as well as I do. For another thing, how can he explain that Takano's body was found? Didn't the police in Gifu Prefecture identify the body?
焼死体の識別には歯型照合が最も有効だと言われています。
So, because of the prophecy and because he's suspecting Takano-san, before, in every other timeline, he would have said, well, she's been dead for 24 hours already. The forensics made a mistake. What a shame. But now he has a real reason to doubt her.
ただ、うちの鑑識のじじいが言うには、それでも 100% じゃないという。まあ、それよりおかしいのが、岐阜県警鑑識の死亡時刻なんです。当初、死亡時刻が合わなかったらしいんです。
死亡時刻が合わない。
ねえ、祭りの前夜にはもう殺されてたっていう鑑識が出ちゃったらしいんです。内容物とかそういうのから調べるらしいですね。ですがこの時点で岐阜さんには高野の話をしちゃってたんです。だから岐阜さん、綿流しの日に彼氏とデートしてたはずの死体が死後24時間では話が合わないって言って、その死亡時刻の鑑定なんかより死体の歯型鑑定の方がよっぽど精度が高いですからね。まあ現場にはたまにある話です。ですが高野が犯人かもしれないって目で見てみると、こいつは高野の死体じゃない可能性が出てきます。
死体をごまかすことなんて可能なのですか？
焼死体の鑑定は基本的に歯型以外は絶望的です。例えばこれは推理小説的な荒技ですが、沖宮のデンタルクリニックに残されていた高野美代の歯型のカルテ。
They got a mold of her teeth, they fabricated fake teeth, and so on.
巧妙な手口で捏造されていたら誤認もあり得る。
Exactly.
まあそんなのは抜きにして、単純に岐阜さんが高野に間違いないと決めつけてしまった可能性の方が高いですが。
But you don't believe him. You don't believe them, right? Right, Oishi-san?
警察組織内では往々にして初動時の鑑定ミスが後々まで尾を引くことが少なくない。伝説的な冤罪事件のほとんどはこれに起因します。私はどうやらその可能性が拭えない気がする。
つまり高野は生きてる？
高野美代は先日以来車ごと行方不明です。岐阜の死体が高野でないなら、これはなんだか面白そうな話になってきます。
Hey, Idia, we're gonna inspect your whole fucking clinic, by the way. Idia had already heard about the deaths of Tomitake and Takano. It seemed like both the clinic and the office in Tokyo had flown into a panic over it. It's funny how they make such a big fuss about their own people when they don't care about what happens to other people's lives if it would get in the way of their research. Takano's subordinate, Konogi, was in the room. Konogi is the leader of the Mountain Dogs. I came here to make sure he's still willing to protect me. Based on past experience, they tend to lose interest in protecting me after Takano dies.
高野が死んでしまいましたですが、僕は大丈夫なのですか？
大丈夫ですよ、リカさん。我々が今後も厳重に警護してますんで。ですから、警察に頼ろうとしなくても問題ないです。
I guess this is part of the tight security, or of that tight security. They must have been listening to my conversation with Oishi.
大石に聞きました。高野が実は死んでいないというのは本当ですか？
まさか。現地の県警の正式な発表ですんで。大石という刑事は今年で定年。お社様のたたりを何とか解決したい一心で、何でも話をおかしくしようとする癖がありよります。
You're giving them too much information, Narika.
あいつの言うことに耳を貸さん方がいいでしょう。
Well, he's not wrong, but this year is Oishi's last chance. Because he's so desperate, he's developed a bad habit of listening to every rumor he hears.
おこのぎはこの事件をどう見ていますですか？
現在、上が調査してますんで、殺された二人の関係を知る以上、内部犯行の可能性が極めて高いっちゅんは間違いないんじゃないかと。
I glanced over at Idia as I listened to Okonogi speak. It seemed that whoever he was talking to over the phone was accusing him of killing them. Idia was frantically trying to prove his innocence. Soon enough, he hung up the phone. Idia looked upset that he was under suspicion after working so hard for the organization.
ああ、リカさん。
It's even called the organization? Oh my god.
すみませんね。だいぶお待たせして。
入江も大変なことになったようなのです。
お聞きになった通りです。 富武さんたちの死は何かの陰謀による可能性が非常に高いです。そして東京はその黒幕が私であると思っているようです。まったくどうしてそういう方向になるのか大いに疑問です。
I rarely ever saw Idia get so emotional. He must be feeling as though all of his effort is being repaid with injustice. However, it's a fact that Idia was trying to fight against the budget cuts and downsizing of his research team. Tokyo is thinking that this could be his motive for killing them. She's already thinking this far ahead. In any case, everyone in the organization is suspicious.
リカさんの心配は分かってます。高野さんたちを殺した何者かが次にあなたを狙わないとは限らないですからね。東京もそこは特に気にしていました。
山犬にもあなたの警護体制を最高にするよう命令が来ています。ご安心してくださいね。
それが聞ければ僕は少し安心なのです。
It was the first time the Mountain Dogs had ever tightened up my security. They usually become so busy keeping tabs on Idia after Tomitake and Takano's death that they end up ignoring me. Even though they're dead, I'm still in a pretty favorable situation.
高野たちを殺した犯人に心当たりはないのですか？
東京の皆さんも調べられています。状況を見る限り内部事情に精通した人間の仕業です。どうやら真っ先に疑われたのは私のようです。
富武にああいう死に方をさせられるのは入江だけなのです。
そんなことはありません。おそらく東京の方も H17 さんの話をしているのでしょうが、あれは危険な目的での研究が中止された時全て破棄されたはずです。あんなことは不可能だ。
ですが所長、こういうことが起こってしまった以上、東京はそれに富武氏には予防薬があらかじめ与えられていたはずにもかかわらず発症したんです。
天文学的低確率で起こった偶然だとしか言えません。とにかく絶対そんなことはありえないんです。
Idia is usually a very calm person, but once the people in Tokyo start suspecting him, he often loses his mind.
犯人ということはありませんですか？高野なら内部の人間です。
高野さんがまさか。
But as he spoke, Idia started to realize that everything could be explained if Takano was the culprit. But I don't know how to persuade him that it's the truth. More than anything, people want to hear a motive. Not who did something, but why. Knowing that probably isn't as important as it sounds. After all, you never know the motive unless the suspect talks. Guessing about the motive is just a waste of time. In other words, it's stupid to assume that Takano isn't the culprit just because I don't know what her motive is.
リカさん、確証もないことを言っちゃいけませんね。あれだけ親切にしてくれたんじゃないんですか？それを疑っちゃ悪いですね。
Upon hearing me be ungrateful towards his boss, Okonogi flashed me an unpleasant smile. It's true that Takano was very nice to me. It might be disrespectful of me to suspect her. However, I still can't trust her completely yet. Perhaps I've developed the same bad habits as Oishi. Am I believing every crazy theory that I hear just because I'm desperate to escape from fate?
とにかく私たちの身近で何か良くないことが起こりつつあるのは間違いありません。用心するに越したことはないでしょう。
ご心配なく。所長に対する警護体制も最高にするよう命令を受けておりますんで。
Idia smiled bitterly. For him, their protection wouldn't be too different from stalking.
リカさんも警察には不用意なことを喋らないようにお願いします。分かってると思いますが、場合によっては機密保持のため厄介なことになるかもしれませんので。
He was implying that he'd have to kill anyone I talked to. This isn't the first time they've warned me about this. It's just, what if Takano really is the culprit? If she is, then Okonogi is almost certainly involved too. That it makes sense that he wouldn't want me to suspect Takano. But that would be horrifying. If Takano was my enemy, then the Mountain Dogs were too. This whole clinic is a lion's den. Idia is just a researcher, so he probably wouldn't know what's really going on. The more I thought about it, the more confused I got. Why would Takano do something like this? I thought I just convinced myself that the motive shouldn't even matter, but I can't stop thinking about it. Is Takano really behind it all? Am I going crazy as Oishi just because of how badly I want to solve this mystery? Perhaps the mountain dogs are more like wolves looking after a flock of sheep. Yeah. I've lived for over 100 years. I've never once found out who killed me, and I stayed close to the Idia Institute so that they could protect me. What if that was my big mistake? Well, I'm sure that Idia has no bad intentions. In many lives, I got to see just how genuine his feelings are. I can trust him. However, he's not really reliable. Konogi glanced over at me. He smiled and told me not to worry, but I noticed an evil glint in his eyes. It's possible that I have Hinamizawa syndrome, and that was just a hallucination. I don't understand anything. I don't even know who my enemies are anymore. There's no point in thinking about this any longer. To only trust who I know I can trust for sure. There are only a few of those people though. Iria, Oishi, and my friends. I knew it! If Okonohi is on Takano's side, he will be watching me very closely. If I started accusing Takano of anything, who knows what they'd do to me. When this world first began, I thought I had no time left. But that wasn't true. The number of things that happened in just 2 weeks was immense. I probably only have a few more days left until the day of my death. What can I do? How can I change this? Am I supposed to just take Hanyu's advice and resign this time? Oh boy. Who knows, Rika? Who knows what's gonna happen? But it seems like so far, my prediction, my final quote-unquote theory, was pretty fucking spot on after thinking about it for a while. Oh god, it keeps going. We're at the 2-hour mark already. Oh boy.
それで綿流しの晩にはもう失踪していたらしいんだよ。
お社様のたたりかな。
さすがに5年も連続すると薄気味悪いよな。
Hinamizu was a small village. Rumors spread fast here. Besides, she's Mio and Sonozaki. She would have found out about this yesterday, even if the police were trying to hide it. My friends were all talking about the mysterious death of Tomitake and the disappearance of Takano. People in this village are very superstitious. No matter what happens, they conclude that everything is the curse of Oyashiro-sama. The past incidents don't matter to me either way. All I'm interested in is the current one. The culprit of this case will probably kill me too. Yeah, the organization. 2 days have passed since Watanagashi. Today is Tuesday, June 21st, 1983. At the earliest, I'll get killed on the night of the 22nd. At the latest, or that is tomorrow night. The day of my death is always different. I always end up getting killed, but the day when it happens varies. I guess the culprit has their own reason for that. There's only one thing I'm sure about. Based on my experiences, I'll live for sure until tomorrow night. After then, I'll have to live with the fear of getting murdered at any moment. Still, there's no real reason to be afraid. When I wake up, I'll be in a brand new world again. I can never remember how I'm killed. That's why I'm not that afraid of the killing itself. I'm just frustrated that my life is about repeating the same things over and over like a broken record. However, at present I'm frustrated. My classmates just expect that their peaceful days will continue forever. But I couldn't feel that way. I feel frustrated and full of sorrow, as I really don't want to die.
明日の夜ですが、リカは悔いがありませんですか？
バカ。ないわけないでしょ。
You ready to die tomorrow, Rika? Hanyu was trying to warn me that I might get killed tomorrow night. As though she already knew it was going to happen for sure.
リカはとてもよく頑張りました。そして今年の綿流しは僕が生きてきた中でも一番の楽しいお祭りでした。それはリカもだったのではないですか？
It was fun. It really was fun. Satoko had band-aids all over her face, but everyone was there together and we kicked up a storm. I want this world to continue forever. I can't accept that. This world is going to end tomorrow at the earliest and within 1 or 2 weeks at the latest.
また次の世界でもきっと楽しくできますのですよ。
この世界はもう終わりなの。こんなにも楽しい世界なのに。もう終わりなの。
All of my friends are alive and happy. Keiichi doesn't feel alone, and Rena's family is happy too. Mion and Shion are getting along, as well as Shion and Satoko. This issue of Satoko's uncle is resolved, and she is no longer treated coldly by the other villagers. It's the best world I've ever experienced. But this world is going to end.
リカ、僕たちは特別な存在なのに、リカは自分のことを普通の人間として考えすぎなのです。楽しいパーティーがいつまでも続けばいいのにと、子供の誰もが願う。でもいつかパーティーはお開きになりますのです。だから子供たちは楽しい瞬間をどうか永遠に続いてほしいと願うのです。でも、だからといって終わったパーティーを嘆くことはない。眠ればまた明日の朝になる。
Hanyu, what the fuck are you talking about?
そしてまたいろいろと楽しいことが起こるのです。パーティーが終われば消えてしまうシンデレラなんかいない。
私の生への固執をそんな風に例えられるなんて知らなかったわ。
今のリカはパーティーから帰りたくないと泣いて椅子にしがみつく子供と同じなのです。どうして泣いたり悲しんだりする必要が。またパーティーはやってきます。リカは死を越すことを未だに忌み嫌っているけれど、僕たちにとっては一眠りのまたぎだというのに。
Like, I guess she's trying to console you, but god damn it, dude.
昭和58年の6月より先に何があるのか見たくないの？
見たくないと言えば嘘になりますです。でもそれに固執して裏切られ傷ついてゆくリカの方、リカには分かってない。気の遠くなるほどの長い時間を誰とも会話することができず、楽しい祭りもじっと眺めているだけ。子供たちの遊ぶ輪を横で眺めていることしかできない悲しさなんてわからない。誰にも私の姿が見えない。
Is that all you care about,
誰に
Hanyu?
も私の声が届かないし、誰も私に話しかけてはくれない。そんな辛さや悲しさがリカに想像つきますのですか？その中でやっと出会えたリカなのです。僕はリカがいなかったら生きていけない。でもリカのように死ねもしないのです。僕は時の果てまで一人ぼっちで生きていかなくてはならない。新しいあなたが現れるまでずっと膝を抱いて一人で過ごしていかなくてはならない。僕はそんなのは嫌なのです。絶対に嫌なのです。
ハニュ。
だからリカ、あの悲しい約束を取り消してほしいのです。この世界でも運命に打ち勝てなかったらもう全てを諦めるというあの約束を取り消してほしいのです。
ハニュ。ごめん。もう少しだけその返事を待たせて。
I want to do what I can until the end. When that happens, I can decide what to do. If I think there's still some hope, I can go on living. But if I feel desperate enough, I can just give up. It might not ultimately be a bad thing to repeat June of 1983 over and over. Perhaps I might be blessed with another fortunate life someday. Hanyu nodded with a little satisfaction after hearing that, sensing that my feelings were starting to lean the way she wanted them. She just wants to be able to eat candy again.
どうしたよ、レナ。リカちゃんをお持ち帰りする算段でもしてるのか？
ねえ、ケイイチくん、 リカちゃんに元気がないとは思わないかな。
どうだろうな。奉納演舞の疲れが抜けないんじゃないのか？
Rika was sitting all by herself wearing a sad expression. I'd said she might still be tired from the festival, but that wasn't really how it looked. Do you think she looks sad and then she's like depressed as fuck?
踊り上がってもいいくらいなのに、なんだか昨日からリカちゃんの様子がおかしいように思うの。悩み事でもあるんじゃないかな。
てっぺの件は完全に決着したはずだろ。リカちゃんが悩むような問題は何もないはずだぜ。
We thought Satoko and Rika might not be able to live together if they found a brand new shit, but that problem is almost solved. Either the Sonozuki family or the Kimiyoshi family will become her guardian. Mayor Kimiyoshi is already Rika's guardian. Oh, that's really cool. If the Sonozuki family gets custody, Satoko will officially become Shion's little sister, which is exactly what she wanted. Anyway, I had no idea why Rika was acting so upset.
こういう時は声をかけてみるのが一番じゃねえのか？
それがかえってデリカシーがない時もあるし、でも圭一くんなら大丈夫だと思うかな。
I don't want to, but you
つまり
can.
俺にデリカシーがないっていう意味だな。
Exactly. You fucking outsider. But Rina laughed and stuck her tongue out at me. I walked up to Rika and struck up a conversation. Perhaps something is still troubling Satoko, and we just don't know about it. If that's the case, we need to help her.
元気なさそうだな。何か悩んでるのか？
圭一。
Rika had been daydreaming, and it took her a while to realize that I was talking to her.
僕が悩んでるように見えましたですか？
まあな。どうしたんだよ。何かあったのか？
It took her a while to answer. Such a long silence had to mean yes.
圭一、聞いてもらいたい詩がありますです。誰が作った詩かは聞かないでくださいです。そして聞いたら感想を聞かせてほしいです。
It was Hanyu.
どんなのだよ。
Hanyu's the fucking author. Rika closed her eyes and recited a short poem. It went something like this. Everyone has a right to be happy, yet it's so hard to receive. Everyone has a right to be happy, yet it's so hard to fulfill. I have the right to be happy, yet it's so hard to compromise.
結構難しい詩だな。それはリカちゃんが作ったのか？って聞くのはなしなんだったな。
なしです。
No, you're
圭
not.
一はこの詩を聞いてどんな感想を持ちましたですか？
Everyone has a right to be happy, yet it's so hard to receive. I understand that. Everyone does have the right to be happy. But that doesn't mean that everyone can receive that happiness. Everyone has a right to be happy, yet it's so hard to fulfill. Same thing. It's a little harder to understand, but exercising that right probably refers to the process of finding happiness. Yeah. Everyone has a right to work hard for their happiness. But it's not that easy for that work to bear fruit. I have the right to be happy, yet it's so hard to compromise. I guess she's trying to talk about compromising your happiness? Yeah. There's no limit to human desires. You can never stop wanting more. That's why people need to make compromises on their happiness. At least that's how I understand it. If she was trying to say that we should be satisfied with what we have, it sounds like a positive statement, but there's also a negative tone to the way it's presented.
この詩は多分詩を作った人の心情を表しているものだと思う。
僕もそうだと思いますです。
She's so
そ
fucking
れで
mad.
感想はいかがですか？
She wouldn't admit it, but I'm sure Rika is the one who made that poem and is reflecting on how she's feeling. I'm not that smart, but even I can understand that.
悲しい歌だなって思ったわ。
悲しいですか。
最初の2つはわかる。幸せに過ごす権利は誰にだってあるが、だからといって誰でも簡単に幸せになれるわけじゃないもんな。そういう厳しさを歌ったものだと思う。でも最後の一つは毛色が違う。妥協ってのは諦めるって意味だ。この詩の私は幸せになることを諦めて今を妥協して幸せだと思い込もうとしてるんだ。
幸せだと思い込もうとしているですか。
それも未練いっぱいにな。誰だって努力さえすればきっと幸せになれるのに、自分だけはそれが絶対届かないと分かっている。そんな諦めが漂う悲しい歌だ。
なら圭一、この詩の私はどうすればいいんでしょうか。
くじけるなってことだな。
くじけるなですか。
この詩を歌ったやつは自分がどういう風になれれば幸せなのか悩んだ末にしっかり見つけてる。それは決して高望みしたものではないと思う。どうやったら幸せになれるかを延々3段も考察してるやつなんだぜ。真剣に考えてるんだ。だからここまで幸せになりたいと一途に思ってるなら絶対に諦めちゃダメだと思うぜ。リカちゃん、俺たちは絶望的な状況をほんの数日でひっくり返したんだぜ。みんなで力を合わせればきっと奇跡が起こせる。リカちゃんだってそれを目の当たりにしたはずだぜ。あるんだろ悩み。打ち明けてくれよ。
We have to kill Takano, Keiji. Again.
打ち明けたいことはあります。でも打ち明ければみんなはもうひなみ沢でのんびりと暮らすことはできなくなるでしょう。私にとっての幸せはみんなと楽しく昭和58年6月以降も過ごすこと。だからこそ6月をくぐり抜けるためだけにみんなを巻き込んでもそれは私にとっての幸せではない。
ひなみ沢にのんびり暮らせなくなる？どうしてだよ。
打ち明けたことを知られたら奴らは必ずみんなを殺す。だから助けを求められない。
殺すって穏便な話じゃないな。まさかリカちゃん誰かに脅迫されてるのか？
The word kill is not something that most people use casually. I was shocked to hear it coming from her mouth. That's why I couldn't help but raise my voice.
誰が敵かもわからない状態です。一つわかるのは誰かが私を必ず殺すということだけです。
ごめんリカちゃん、話してくれ。一体何があったんだ？
Is Teppei threatening her? No, that is impossible. The police arrested him, and besides that, the Sonosuke family told him to never come back to the village. There's no way you could contact Rika over in order to threaten her. And even if that somehow was the case, Rika could just talk to Mion and everything would be taken care of. But based on her expressions, it seemed like this was way deeper than that.
ごめんなさいです。これ以上言えばきっと巻き込みますです。圭一たちが巻き込まれれば仮に6月を超えられてもそれは私の望む世界じゃない。だから打ち明けられないのです。それが多分私が望む幸せに対し妥協しないということなのだと思いますです。
リカちゃんがさっきから何を言ってるのかさっぱりだが、リカちゃんのその言い方先日までの聡子にそっくりだぜ。
聡子に？
ああ、耐えることが美徳だと勘違いして戦う勇気を忘れてる、そういう風に聞こえるな。電話で聡子に戦う勇気を奮い起こせと劇を飛ばしたリカちゃんらしくもないぜ。
My words had clearly hurt Rika's feelings. She bit her lip and went quiet for a moment.
巻き込まれれば圭一たちもきっと殺されますですよ。
殺されるのはごめんだな。でもよ、放っておけばリカちゃんは必ず殺されるんだろ。だったら俺もリカちゃんのいない未来なんてごめんだな。
Oh.
リカちゃんが俺たちを巻き込みたくないって思うように、俺たちもリカちゃんを失いたくないって思ってる。荒事は大歓迎だぜ。それに3人集まれば文殊の知恵って言うだろ。部活メンバーみんなで相談し合えば必ず妙案が出るぜ。
いくら部活メンバーでも無理なものは無理だと思いますです。
俺たちを巻き込みたくないから打ち明けられないんだな。ならリカちゃんは俺たちに打ち明けず一人で死のうってことなんだな。
そういうことだと思いますです。
耐えることを美徳だと勘違いするな。戦う勇気を思い出すんだ。心の整理がついたらいつでも何時でもいいから相談してくれ。俺たちは絶対に力になるからな。
ありがとうです。
Rika was wearing a sorrowful smile. I could tell that she appreciated my sympathy. I don't know why, but Rika is troubled by something. It's a matter of life and death for her. She can't even talk to us about it. At the very least, she won't talk to me.
どうだったケイイチくん。
リカちゃんが悩み事だって？珍しいね。
さとこ、変なことを聞いてすまんが、リカちゃんが命を狙われているような話ってあるのか？
は？何を言ってるんですのケイイチさんは。
リカちゃまは村のシンボルじゃないですか。拝む人はいても命を狙う人なんているわけないです。なんだいなんだい、物騒な話だね。
The more I talked to my friends, the stranger it seemed that someone would try to kill Rika. Everyone was more confused than I felt.
リカちゃんは悩みを打ち明けてくれたわけじゃない。でも何かに悩んでるのは間違いなく、それはかなり深刻らしいんだ。リカちゃんが俺たちを信頼してくれるならきっと近いうちに打ち明けてくれると思う。その時はどんな突拍子もない話であってもきっと信じてあげて力になってあげよう。きっとだぜ。
We all looked at each other and nodded. Oh. Even Satoko was crying a little bit, because she's serious. Okay. I gotta get going soon, and hopefully this is the end. Do we have one tip or two? We have one. And it's a two-parter. So I'm gonna try to read through this kind of quickly. And then, when we do the finale, which will be next time, we'll definitely go over my thoughts some more. But for now, let's try to get through this real quick. The Fated Notebook 2 and 3. The Son of God promised that he would be resurrected within 3 days. Sinful men guarded his grave to make sure he would not wake up, but that was foolish of them. He meant that his spirit and his lessons would be resurrected, not his physical shell. Do not be afraid of physical death. If you achieve great things, you will live again. You will surpass death and become immortal. That's what happened with Tomitake. An ogre took the Son of God to a cliff and told him to jump off. In this case, it would be quote-unquote demon. He claimed that if he really was the Son of God, a miracle would help him survive. He tried to challenge the Lord. The Lord challenges humans, but humans may not challenge the Lord. To challenge is to suspect. Suspicion will speak words of evil into your ears, and it will make you falter. We're almost done with the game. We just finished Chapter 11. We're doing Chapter 12 in 2 days, so Saturday. Do not doubt your own achievements. Do not doubt your own life. Do not doubt your contributions. Do not let others criticize your achievements. That is the same as doubting your own life. Hifumi T, which who we still don't know. We still don't know who he is. But yeah, like I said, I do gotta get going soon. So unfortunately, we couldn't read that a little bit more slowly. But I mean, those were some pretty powerful words as always from these fucking tips. But anyway.